Welcome to another We Wonder. My name is Chris Pfluger. I am the Chief Development Officer here at We Insure. And on a weekly basis, we wonder about different topics. And today's topic is real estate agent recruiting. You may ask, real estate agent recruiting, what does that have to do with insurance? Well, I can tell you that obviously my background came from the real estate side. And the number one question that everyone has on that, the number one concern is how do they add more agents or retain those agents or grow that agent base? And so agent recruiting is very important. Well, if you are an insurance agent and dealing with an office, the more agents they have, presumably the more business that comes in and the more opportunities that you have to deal with a larger agent base. So this is a relevant topic for several reasons. And the next reason, of course, was that a lot of our existing owners in the real estate space own We Insures as a ancillary or complementary business. So we have a good blend of owners at this point that own other businesses and a lot of more real estate. So since this is an important topic for them, it's an important topic for me. So today we wonder about what's going on pre-COVID, during COVID, and what the future looks like. And frankly, what the mindset are of agents in today's market. So we have a very special guest today. Drew Peterson joins us. Hey, Drew.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me.
So you're the founder and CEO of Peterson Real Estate Solutions, and you specialize in agent recruiting.
Correct.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about that, a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So my first role in real estate was as a recruiter. And this was for a RE/MAX franchise in Orlando, Florida back in 2005. And from there, I sold real estate. I was a brokerage manager. I worked with you at RE/MAX headquarters, helping to roll out that brokerage training program. And then for the last about 6 years, I've had my own company and started out as a coaching company primarily, and reached the point at which, frankly, I just got tired of telling my broker clients to pick up the phone, and then only to have them jump on a call 2 weeks later and tell me that they had not picked up the phone. So I figured, why not see if I can build something out where we do this for them? So I don't have to berate them. They don't have to worry about picking up the phone, and it's taken care of for them. And so we launched that program about 4 years ago. And right now that's our primary program, which is where we make recruiting calls on behalf of brokerages, large and small, all across the US and Canada.
I'll tell you what, that's pretty exciting. That was something I noticed, working in that space, as you noticed as well, that it's a great idea, but it's the hardest thing to do, right? It's the hardest thing to do consistently.
Absolutely.
If you're a broker in an office, if you're not aware of this out there, if you're a broker in an office, you have a lot of responsibilities, right? So it's not like you're sitting there all day saying, boy, I'm taking the day off and I'm golfing and I might do some recruiting tomorrow. It's, everybody's running around like with a hair on fire, and there's deals and problems, and other agent has issues and money coming in, and what's my escrow account doing? There's a lot of things going on. So it's understandable why they're distracted. However, the best of the best, time block and really allocate, that time to that opportunity to call and reach out to other agents. Now, doing that for a week, great, maybe 2, maybe a month, but consistently, or when you get to the point where you already have a few agents in there, do you continue to do that to beat the attrition rate? Probably not. So, Drew, I know that your service has got to be the most valuable thing. It's the most important thing that one of the brokers could do is to have that consistency behind you to make sure that happens. So I'm very excited to have you on today and ask you a few questions.
Absolutely.
All right. So first off, I'm going to ask you a little bit about best practices. You said reach out and make that phone call. Tell us a little bit about, in your opinion, what are best practices in the recruiting game?
Well, so number one is to pick up the phone. We work with a lot of brokerages who will do email and direct mail, look into Facebook ads, social media, LinkedIn, that sort of thing. But the reality is, if you want to bring on agents, and specifically, so we specialize in helping our clients bring on experienced agents. So not brand new licensees, not people who've done 1 or 2 deals in the prior year, but people who've done $1.5 million in volume at least in the prior 12 months. And for you to get those agents, you've really got to pick up the phone. or you have to bring on somebody like us to do that for you, because that is that cold outreach, or even if it's warm outreach and you're calling around a cooperating transaction, you've still got to pick up the phone and make that phone call to get the agents in for the appointments. Everything else is great and it supplements that and complements that, but it does not replace picking up the phone. So that is the number one biggest thing I say in terms of a best practice, is to pick up the phone and call the agents you want to recruit. Whether you have a list of 50, whether you have a list of 500, you want to pick up the phone and make direct contact with those agents with the goal of inviting them for a recruiting appointment. You can take the route of saying, get to know you type of meeting and all of that. But what we do in our business and what we found to be most effective is going directly to the agent and saying, look, you're somebody we'd like to potentially bring on board. We have something we can offer you. Are you open to hearing what we can offer you? And that is the number one single most important thing for brokerages who want to recruit experienced agents, is to pick up the phone.
And I can imagine those agents, typically when you make that call, are flattered that in many cases that you're reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm interested in doing this. You mentioned yesterday a little about geography, right? Mm-hmm. It's so very important, proximity to a particular office. Tell me a little bit more about that. What are agents telling you?
Yeah, so one of the things when COVID hit, we were curious about was whether agents would be more open to being distant from an office or working for a company that, let's say, was completely virtual. Because prior to COVID, on the phone, when we were making calls, the number one biggest objection we would get that we simply could not overcome was location. Agents wanted to have an office that was either in their market or no more than about a 15 to 20 minute drive, let's say. And so with COVID, we thought more people are working virtually. Perhaps it comes up that agents are willing to have an office farther away if that office provides them better support and services than their current company. What we found is COVID changed nothing. Agents still want an office that's in their market, or no more than about a 15 to 20 minute drive. Now, certainly there are virtual companies like EXP that have been successful with that model, but we found the vast majority of agents do want some sort of physical presence, and they want it to be, again, either in their market or within a reasonable driving distance. So geography is also something to pay attention to, because if you're out there and you're recruiting and you're calling agents who are 30 or 40 minutes from your nearest office, you're not going to see success. And so you're far better off focusing on the agents who are currently around where your office is. So we always say that you want to go by where their existing office is, not where they live, not where they sell, because wherever their existing office is, they're obviously willing to drive there, or they like where that location is. So if your current office is no more than about 15 to 20 minutes away from their existing office, you're fishing in the right waters.
Fantastic. And that's great feedback. So obviously pick up the phone and make sure you're recruiting the agents that are within your reach. So yes. That makes sense. I would have to imagine, and we've talked about this before, given the fact that you're the guy out there picking up the phone and making those calls and getting feedback from agents in and around, that feedback being passed back to the brokerage you're working for has to be invaluable, because they live in a world where they might be operating like this. And the reality of it is you're out there asking the real questions. You're a third party saying, what do you think? So yep. How do you share that feedback with brokerages?
So we do it in a few different ways. The first is when we finish a round of calls. So for our clients, we do one round of calls every month. And when we finish that round of calls, we send them a report that has the outcome of every call we made. If the agents tell us anything meaningful, it will appear in the notes. And so if we have a large number of agents who say, we're out of the area, it's too far, or we thought they only hired new agents, which we get, with some of our traditional brokerage, we make a lot of calls for Realogy brands, and for them, we get commission objections. So those certainly appear in there. So one way we do share feedback with our clients is through those reports. And then additionally, if we hear anything unusual on the phone, and that's a big benefit of having a company like ours call for you, is we call for multiple brands and in all areas of the country. Whereas if you have somebody making calls, let's say you've hired somebody directly, they only have the experience of the phone calls in that market, and they can benchmark them against other markets or other brands, whereas we can't. My people are on the phone all day, every day. And so if we hear anything unusual about a client, we immediately know, because we've made calls in other areas for other brands, or even in other areas for that same brand. And that's one of the other things we can bring to the table, is we can benchmark against, not just in data, which we certainly can, but also anecdotally with some of the objections we might get that are unusual to a particular area or a particular brand or a particular company. That's something else we can share with our clients and tell them, hey, we're only hearing this in your area, so it's unique to you. Let's get together and come up with some ideas on how we're going to manage this.
The interesting thing that strikes me, Drew, when we're talking about this is you're recruiting an agent, and the other side of the coin is that agent's leaving a different brokerage, right? Because they're an experienced agent, right? So they're not starting out yesterday. They have to come from somewhere. So the pie is only so large. So they're going from shifting from one to the other. The question is, what do you tell your clients, or what do you suggest on the retention side? Because they're doing a solid job at retention. That person's not leaving. So what do you tell them on the retention side?
There are two big things. The first is they need to continue to communicate to their agents the support and services they offer. Because that's something where for our clients, they'll have a recruiting appointment and they'll talk about that. But once they onboard an agent, once they hire an agent, oftentimes the communication is just limited to training calendars or reminders about paperwork, maybe some company events. But it's rare that the brokerage will, either the managers or the owners, really talk to the agents and remind them about the things they offer, whether it's technology, whether it is some open door policy for coaching. There's just a lot of things in the brokerage that once that initial recruiting appointment is done and the agent is joined, the brokerage never really mentions it again. They don't resell the benefit of being there. So that's one big thing, is you want to constantly resell the benefit to your agents of why they should continue to associate with your company. And then the second thing is just doing the little things. As a manager and owner, call an agent on their birthday. If they close a big deal, send them a note. I mean, it's just the little things, because, in the industry, one of the big things that we will hear on the phone is, oh, I love my broker. And that's true. I mean, if an agent has a close relationship with a broker, it's going to be very difficult for us to tear them away. So just doing the little things, it doesn't have to be big. You don't have to, take them out to fancy dinners or do anything like that. But taking them to coffee, getting to know them a little better, doing the handwritten notes, calling them on their birthday, their anniversary. I see a lot of companies who will congratulate the agent on the anniversary of them joining the company, but they won't congratulate them on other personal type of milestones that are not about the company itself. And so as an onboarding process, when I used to work with my coaching clients, I would encourage them to have a form where the agent would put their spouse's name, children's names, birth dates, anniversaries, so that as the brokerage, I have that in my CRM. And now I've got a little reminder on those important dates to just reach out. It takes 30 seconds to a minute, but it's powerful in terms of retention. So those are two big things. There's reselling the benefit of associating with the brokerage, and then just doing the little things right to keep that relationship and to keep that connection.
Fantastic. Well, before we get into the psychology of an agent, would you agree with a statement? I think we've heard this 1,000 times out there. Agents join a brand and they leave the broker.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's generally what happens. Hey, they're the honeymoon period. You're excited about this. You're making changes. You get new cards. You got some new signs, and then you get over there and things are great for a period of time, and then you realize there's something wrong. So this leads us right into, what's the biggest complaint that you hear?
The biggest complaint we hear from agents is the broker has dropped the ball, or the support staff has dropped the ball. And maybe it's, a lot of real estate markets are hot right now. So you've got multiple offer situations. If you're an agent and you are representing a buyer and you have an urgent question you need to get answered, and your broker doesn't pick up the phone or doesn't respond for 2 or 3 days, you're going to miss out on that. You're going to miss out on that opportunity, and your client's going to miss out. And that client then might be upset enough to go find a different agent. And we also see that with paperwork, with commission checks. That's the biggest complaint we will hear, is if a brokerage drops, or a broker drops the ball because they ignore the agent, they don't respond quickly enough, they don't get the right paperwork or the right responses to it. That's really, in terms of the number one biggest complaint, that's what we're hearing right now, is because the brokerages are so busy. That means the managers are busy, the support staff is busy. And if they make a mistake, maybe it's sending a sign call to the wrong agent, it's those types of things that drive agents nuts and that ultimately drive agents away.
That is a fantastic piece of advice. If you're out there listening and you're a brokerage, you know that this man knows exactly what he's talking about, because he's talking to the agent. So that is exactly what you'd expect to hear too. And what was the second biggest complaint? You mentioned yesterday a little bit about leads. Everybody wants leads. So
yeah, that's a big deal right now, because if you're an agent and you go to do a geographic farming campaign or something of that nature, establishing a new prospecting pipeline takes time. And right now, what agents want is, they want deals now, because that's what's happening. I mean, there are deals right now to be had. Markets in most areas are moving fast. Listings, you have to do very little marketing typically, except you're getting multiple offers and things are going above list price. So sellers are happy, but agents who feel like they're not getting business from their brokerage. And it doesn't always have to be direct. We do find a lot of agents, especially in the lower production range, so between about 1 and 3 million, those agents are very attracted to the idea of receiving leads. And they can be online leads, they can be relocation leads, they can be offline leads, whether that's in the form of open houses or walk-ins, floor time, that sort of thing. They are very open to that and they want that. And they also want their brokerage to help them grow their business, not just by handing it to them, but also by giving them strategies. And so we're also finding agents who want to know what is working right now. You know, you have geographic, you have online, you have all these different ways as an agent you can generate business through your network, but what's working now and what's the most effective and how do you capitalize on that? And that's the other big thing we're hearing is if a brokerage does not offer leads to the agents or they are not there to help the agent grow their business, the agents are looking elsewhere. And for a lot of our clients, because they do offer lead generation programs, they're having huge success with that because that's what agents want. They want to receive business. They want to feel comfortable. They have stuff in their pipeline. And if the brokerage is not supporting that, they're going to be looking elsewhere.
That is a great tip as well, because that's something that, you know, some brokerages do very well and some have none at all, right? So
Right.
It's something to consider going forward. So let's talk, before we get to those keys to success, the psychology of an agent right now. So you're calling a lot of folks and you said, hey, with COVID, it kind of turned the market, you know, the whole market upside down as far as timing goes. There's usually a recruiting season. There's time where people make a lot of decisions to make moves. And that was a little askew this year because of how everything kind of transpired. So tell us a little bit, what is the psychology right now of the agent? I know they're looking for leads. I know they're looking for the guidance. Are they looking for specific brands? Are they looking for the cheapest, you know, fees they possibly can get? Are they looking for more coaching? Are they looking for, you know, the best? What are they looking for in your opinion?
Sure. Yeah. So back in March, when COVID really started grabbing headlines, it was an atmosphere of panic, both for agents as well as for our brokerage clients. In April and in May, we saw some of the highest success rates we've ever seen. Now, normally in a normal year, January, February, March are the 3 best months. It slows down April, May. The summer generally tends to be fairly slow, and then it picks back up in fall through December. And with COVID this year, we saw a flurry of activity in April and May as agents moved to companies where they felt they were better supported. Because the market's been good for so long now, a number of agents could, I guess you could say they weren't paying attention necessarily to what their brokerage provided because they were out there and they were making money and they were selling and the market was active. Now with COVID, especially back if you rewind a few months when you had contingencies related to COVID hitting, agents needed support. They needed somebody to talk to who had an understanding of the contract, who could help them navigate those waters. And so we saw a number of agents switching over based on a lack of support, or if the brokerage was not set up to do virtual transactions, we saw agents move there as well. As you fast forward through the rest of 2020, we actually saw things decrease in terms of the number of agents moving and agreeing to appointments because they were slammed. They were so busy. And anytime they take a listing, that makes it harder to leave. They put something under contract, that makes it harder to leave. So the psychology of the agent today in terms of where they are, not just in what they want, but also with COVID, is a lot of agents right now are just trying to strike while the iron is hot. They're trying to make their money now where they can. And if brokers are dropping the ball, the agents are logging that away. They may not be doing anything about it right now, but certainly they're logging that away and saying, okay, you know, I'm not getting what I want. And in my mind, what's going to happen here is as the market starts to slow, and it will inevitably, they are going to start looking around because that's where they're going to be paying attention to is my brokerage's cut of the commission, am I getting value for that in exchange? They're going to be looking at, did I get leads from my brokerage or did I have to do all of this myself? Did I get support? So moving forward, I think it's going to return to a normal area where the agents kind of say, okay, what's important to me? Is it leads? Is it support? And based on them jumping to a different brokerage in late spring, early summer, I believe those agents, if they made a wrong choice or they made a rapid choice and didn't really look into what the brokerage offered, they're going to be looking to move again. And I believe that's what we're going to see moving forward is agents are going to pay more attention to what their brokerage offered them, and they are going to be making changes if they're not getting what they want.
That is a great bit of advice as well, because obviously you're saying that there's going to be a pent-up demand.
Mhm.
At some point, we're not making a move today, but let me tell you, I want to be top of your list. If I'm talking to that person from a recruiting perspective, I want to be top of your list because I know that you'll make a change in the near future.
And that's the big thing right now we're talking to clients about, is because there's a natural reaction if agents aren't switching companies to say, well, then let's put recruiting on the back burner. But what you want to do is you want to build a pipeline. And if you're talking to agents are unhappy and they're telling you, I just can't make the move right now, that's fine. Because what's going to happen is your competitors, your other brokerages in your market, they're going to take their foot off the gas because they are going to assume this is not the right time to recruit. Agents aren't moving. It's too busy. And they're going to miss out. Because if you've had a conversation for 3 or 4 months with an agent and you know they're unhappy and you've been talking to them and staying in touch with them, you're more likely to recruit that person than somebody 3 or 4 months from now who just picks up the phone and tries to catch them now that, recruiting is quote unquote returned. And it's that consistency with recruiting that's crucial, even during these times when you might feel frustrated because agents are turning you down or they're saying, I can't move right now. But still, if you're out there and you're having those conversations, you'll capitalize down the road when that agent can make a move.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that's exactly what I would think would happen. And again, building that pipeline, everybody wants that immediate, gratification or immediate response where someone comes in and says, oh, I talked to someone yesterday. They're coming in for an appointment tomorrow and man, we're going to get this person over. But that's not how relationships really work, right? It's over a period of time. It's building that value and showing why you're there. So here's our key question for the afternoon, right? Here's our key question. So the key to success, I asked you a question, which was a bait question yesterday, was, hey, what's the best brokerage out there? Like, it was the perfect one, if you're calling for someone and everybody just gravitates toward it, and there's no such thing, right? We all know that, right? So everybody, there's different value for different people for different reasons at different times in their career. So there's no way to say this is the best. However, what keys, and we talked about this briefly, what keys to success do you tell people? What is the key to success for this?
The number one biggest thing is differentiation. You must be different and you must communicate differently than the other brokerages in your market. And that's oftentimes difficult because it requires self-reflection and it requires being very brutally honest with yourself as an owner or as a manager or as a leadership team about how you're differentiated and if you're differentiated. And even then, it's not enough to be differentiated if you say the same things, if you're using the same recruiting messages as your competitors. So I always tell clients when they come on board, and we do an onboarding call where we kind of walk them through the script, because we don't have one template script. We customize all of ours to our clients. However, when we are talking to them and asking them, okay, why do agents choose to associate with your company? I always tell them there are 3 things we don't talk about on the phone. We don't talk about technology, we don't talk about culture, and we don't talk about training. And the reason, it's not that those are unimportant, it's that everyone claims to have training, everyone claims to have technology, and absolutely everyone claims to have the best culture in the market. Every broker I have ever spoken with in my years of doing this has said they have a wonderful culture. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm simply saying on the phone and when you're out in the market, meaning whether it's by email, whether it's direct mail, when you're communicating with agents, if you're talking about training, technology, and culture, you're not going to get anywhere because everybody claims it. It's impossible to differentiate those in recruiting messages or on the phone. Those are things, culture has to be felt. You have to show technology, and the training is something everybody claims, and some have live and some don't, but the agent would really have to see the training and experience the training in order for that to be a real differentiator. So on the front end, in terms of communication, it's saying different things and talking about different things than your competitors are talking about in terms of getting appointments. And then once you're in that appointment and you're sharing with the agent, here's what we can do, you've got to know what separates you. And you have to have a meaningful differentiator. It can't be something, a lot of brokerages will talk about brand, and that's fine, but it's incredibly rare for a company to differentiate on brand. Some can do it. We have one here locally who differentiates on being the luxury company, and they have a dominant market position. So for them, that is a differentiator, and it certainly can be in other markets as well. But you've got to know as an owner, as a manager, what makes you different. And then you've got to go out and communicate that, because differentiation is the biggest thing. And right now we're seeing differentiation in leads and some of how our clients offer leads in terms of what they're offering. And then we see it in adding in-house services. And we've got right now, there's kind of a race in the industry from a brokerage perspective to zero, meaning you've got the 100% companies who have maybe a flat monthly fee. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that there's only so much you can do as a 100% brokerage if you aren't getting the revenue on the backside. And so for many of our clients who might be what was considered or are considered a traditional brand, they're doubling down on in-house services, because then agents can associate with their company and they don't need to have 7 or 8 different vendors. They can go to the brokerage for marketing, for leads, for transaction coordination, for mortgage, and in this case, for insurance. And so adding in-house services is another way we're seeing people differentiate. We're seeing brokerage differentiate. And that doesn't have to be how you do it, but you've got to know what your competitors are doing. And then you need to figure out, okay, here's how we're going to be different. And then here's how we're going to communicate that out into the market.
So Drew, that was the aha moment I had when we were talking before. That to me was, you've stated something that you kind of know, but no one really articulates very well. And that's the fact that, you can't really talk about training, technology, or culture, because everybody kind of is trained to put that out there and saying, well, ours is great, we have added this. And over the years, a legacy approach to this is to say, well, we have the best training, or hey, we have the best, technology, or we're going to put a new one of these in here. And it becomes such white noise that it's irrelevant, right?
Right.
I used to say that's basically the technology is a threshold item. If it's good enough, it's great. If it's, you go a little bit above it, nobody really noticed, right? It didn't really happen. So it doesn't matter. You could spend millions of dollars after that, and it was just, didn't matter. It didn't matter what happened. So to me, the differentiation was really the point that I was trying to get to. And again, those in-house services that you mentioned, of course, that's the space that I play in, right? That's the place that I knew from, we were going through this, and hence the reason I work at WeInsure was in our space. We know that if you add, the mortgage, the title, and insurance, to your offerings, not only is it a convenience factor, but there's also a better experience for your clients and your agents. And you control that experience. It also may help you, drive enough revenue coming into your entity that you can keep your fees in check, which means that you can attract more agents at a more competitive price. So it's kind of like the whole package when you start talking not only about differentiation, but how many people have this, right? How many people can truly say that I have a one-stop shop? Or I've thought this through to the nth degree where I really have everything here, check, 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 and I'm that well-rounded of a broker. And I can tell you it's not that many, right? From my experience in this space as well. And again, it's growing. I mean, we're growing obviously in quite a few states, but you need something that's turnkey and easy to operate, because frankly, we already mentioned as a broker, you have a tough enough time having enough time to deal with the existing agents, from their transactions to the retention aspect to recruiting. Even if you outsourced it, you still have to be involved, right? You have to be interviewing people and going through the process. And then to say, hey, I'm going to take on 3 other ancillaries and manage those as well, seems to be overwhelming. So if you're going to do it, you want to make sure that you have the right partners on the ancillary side that are turnkey and allow you to be as simple and as direct as possible with the most options and the best pricing. So to me, on the insurance space, obviously that is a WeInsure, and I think that's the best in the future of insurance. But I think the future of real estate includes all of those. I think it has to be that full comprehensive offering for your agents.
Absolutely. And we talked about retention earlier. I mean, the more in-house services you offer, the more touch points for your agents. If their listings are entered by your people, if their transactions are coordinated by your people, if the insurance is coordinated, if the mortgage is there, if they're doing your marketing, it's that much more difficult for an agent to leave, because their entire business is tied to the brokerage, 1, and 2, it gives you as the brokerage, or you as the owners and the managers and the support staff, it gives you more opportunities to talk to the agent. Because you are supporting them, and you can remind them, hey, if you've got a transaction going, send us it, and we'll take care of everything from the contract to the closing. So it's another, that in-house, it's not only a differentiator, but it also helps with retention, because you just have more natural touch points, and you have your agents tied in more closely to the brokerage, because if they leave, they have to go and find all of that, the marketing, the transaction, the insurance, the whole thing. They have to go now and find all of those independently of you. Whereas if you've got them tied in, it makes it harder for them to leave.
Hey, that couldn't be a more important point that we've said today, right? Is the retention aspect of it, because why would they want to leave, right? Why, they don't want to leave because they found this. And if they do have an issue and they go look somewhere else and realize none of those services exist in another place, even though they say they're better,
right?
They're very reluctant to leave, because now I've got to figure out how to do all that. And so
Exactly.
I think it's the most valuable statement you made the entire time is from a retention perspective, keeping the agents in, but from recruiting, it's nice to be able to recruit to a complete shop, right?
Absolutely.
So again, offering all those services are great. Again, I'll throw the pitch in. On the insurance side, it's something that is not just tied to the transaction, but also encompasses the home, auto, boats, watercraft, commercial buildings. So now you have a deeper tie with your clients than you had before, and also a tie that lasts, because everyone needs it, a tie that lasts between real estate transactions. Because we know you didn't buy a house yesterday and you're buying another one tomorrow, right? So it's there's going to be a time frame in between. That could be 7 years, 15 years, 2 years, but in between there, at least you're going to be top of mind because you're offering other services. So again, fantastic opportunity for a broker to really, really take advantage of the situation they're already in. They've done the heavy lifting, and now they offer multiple services. And why would anyone want to not deal with your office, right? If you're a client, why would you not want to deal with that office? Why would you not want to deal with them if you're an agent? So again, this has been fantastic. And Drew, if anyone needs to get a hold of you, I know we ran it up there a few times. We're going to put it up there one more time. This is how you get a hold of Drew. If you're looking to engage your services, I'm sure they'll talk to you directly and find out how to do that. I know I've sent you a few folks as well. And I just value the service that you provide more than you can imagine. So
I appreciate that. Yes. And also at the website, we've got a bunch of articles on recruiting. So if you want to check out, if you're looking for specific tips and all that, it's all, you don't have to provide an email. It's all there. So if you are looking to recruit, you're actively recruiting, you want some ideas, tips and everything, you can feel free to visit the website, and we've got tons of articles on there that'll help you out.
Fantastic. Well, Drew, thank you for joining us today on We Wonder, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
You got it. Have a great day.